Welcome, dear viewers, to another fascinating journey through the quirks of history. Today, we dive into a world where justice wasn't just for humans, it extends to our four-legged, feathered, and even scaled friends. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about animal trials and executions. Grab your popcorn and prepare to be entertained by tales so bizarre, they'll have you laughing in disbelief. Let's get started. Our first stop takes us to the Middle Ages, where pigs didn't just root around in the mud, they rooted themselves into the annals of criminal history. Picture this, it's 1386 in the quaint town of Falaise, France. The air is filled with the sound of hoofbeats and townsfolk gather in the square, murmuring in anticipation. Why, you ask? Because a local pig is about to stand trial for murder. Yes, folks, in medieval times, pigs could be criminals too. This particular pig was accused of killing a child. The punishment? Well, let's just say it wasn't slap on the snout.
We find the defendant guilty of this heinous crime. The sentence is death by hanging.
And so, justice was served. Medieval style. Our unfortunate pig was publicly hanged, making quite the spectacle for the townspeople. This wasn't an isolated case either. Pigs were repeat offenders in medieval courts, often tried for crimes ranging from trampling crops to causing accidental death. You might wonder, why pigs? Well, pigs roamed freely in medieval towns and villages, often getting into trouble. And with a legal system that took a literal interpretation of crime and punishment, these trials were seen as a way to maintain order. So, the next time you think about how law and order have evolved, spare a thought for the medieval pigs who faced the full burden of human justice. They truly had a ham-fisted approach to crime. But don't go away. Coming up next, we dive into the world of goat trials where hooted criminals were also put in the dock. If you thought the pig trials were a ham-tastrophe, wait until you hear about the goat trials. That's right, our four-legged friends were not spared the medieval justice system. Our story takes us to the year 1457 in the picturesque town of Savigny, France. A mother pig and her 6 piglets were the accused, but we're focusing on one of the lesser-known defendants. A goat! You see, this goat was accused of consorting with the piglets to destroy the crops of local farmer. Yes, folks, the goat was allegedly in cahoots with the porcine gang.
We find the defendant guilty of this conspiracy. The sentence is execution.
And so, justice was served once again in a spectacle that left the townspeople both horrified and oddly entertained. But let's not get too caught up in the details. You might wonder, how did goats become criminal masterminds? Well, goats were often kept in villages and had a knack for getting into mischief. They were known for their ability to escape enclosures and cause chaos, making them prime suspects in medieval courts. So, the next time you think your pet goat is causing trouble, remember it could be worse. Much worse. They could be dragged into court to answer for their crimes. If you thought pigs and goats facing justice were the height of medieval, you haven't met the feathered felons yet. Our next tale takes us to Basel, Switzerland, in the year 1474. The star of this story? A humble rooster accused of laying an egg. Sounds absurd? Well, the medieval townsfolk certainly didn't think so. You see, in those times, a rooster laying an egg was considered an act of witchcraft. It was believed that such an egg could hatch a basilisk, a fearsome serpent-like creature capable of causing widespread destruction. And so, our poor rooster found himself in trial for sorcery.
We find the defendant guilty of witchcraft. The sentence is death by burning.
Yes, dear viewers, this poor rooster was sentenced to be burned at the stake for the crime of laying an egg. It might seem clucking mad to us, but back then, such trials were deadly serious. Why roosters, you ask? Well, roosters were common in medieval villages, and any deviation from their expected behavior was seen as a sign of the supernatural. Combine that with a hefty dose of superstition, and you've got yourself a poultry problem. So, next time you see a rooster, be thankful it lives at a time where its eggs, if it were to lay one, are seen as a marvel of nature rather than a harbinger of doom. But don't fly the coop just yet. Coming up, we delve into the trials of our larger furry friends bears, monkey, and more. You won't believe what they were accused of. My intrepid viewers! Our next tale involves one of the most stubborn creatures to ever grace a courtroom, the donkey. Yes, it's time for the donkey trials. Our story unfolds in the year 1750 in the small town of Vannes, France. Picture this, a donkey, standing in the dock, accused of a most scandalous crime. Bestiality. This particular donkey was put on trial alongside its human co-accused. The townsfolk were outraged, demanding justice be served.
We find the defendant guilty of this reprehensible act. However, given the testimony to the animal's good character, we have reconsidered its fate.
In an unexpected twist, the donkey was acquitted. The local clergy testified that the donkey had always been of good behavior, and thus it was spared the harsh punishment that befell its human counterpart. Why donkeys? You might wonder. Well, donkeys were common work animals in medieval Europe, often involved in farming and transport. When a crime involving a donkey occurred, the legal system was quick to place the animal under the same scrutiny as a human. So, the next time you see a donkey, remember it wasn't just a beast to burden. It could have been a defendant in a medieval courtroom drama. But hold on to your reins. Coming up next, we delve into the curious case of animal trials involving rats. Yes, those pesky rodents were put on trial for their crimes too. It's the year 1508 in the town of Autun, France. The townspeople were at their wits' end with the local rat population. These little mischief were accused of destroying the barley crops, a crime that couldn't go unpunished. Believe it or not, the rats were formally summoned to court. A lawyer was appointed to defend them, arguing that the rats had every right to be properly summoned and given safe conduct to appear in court.
Your Honor, my clients are scattered far and wide. They require safe passage to attend this trial without the threat of cats or other dangers along the way.
While the court acknowledges the defense's argument, we must still address the destruction caused by these creatures.
Despite the defense's best efforts, the rats didn't show up for their trial. Shocking, isn't it? The court issued a verdict in absentia, condemning the rats for their crimes. You might wonder, why put rats on trials? In medieval times, the legal system was applied with astonishing literalness, even to animals. It was believed that such trials could help maintaining order and address the frustrations of the townspeople. So, the next time you see a rat scurrying about, remember it might have ancestors who faced full weight of medieval justice. Our next tale takes us to the realm of large and fearsome creatures, bears. Yes, even these mighty animals found themselves at the mercy of human courts. In the early period, around the 16th and 17th centuries, bear trials were not uncommon. One of the most notable cases occurred in the small town of Lausanne, Switzerland. A bear was accused of assaulting a villager and was promptly put on trial. The bear, much like our previous animal defendants, was brought to court, where it stood trial for its alleged crime. The courtroom was filled with anxious and curious townsfolk, eager to see justice served.
We find the defendant guilty of this grievous assault. The sentence is death by public execution.
Despite the bear's inability to comprehend the proceedings, it was sentenced to death and publicly executed, much to the satisfaction of the townspeople who believed justice had been served. You might wonder why bears were subjected to such trials. In those times, bears were both feared and revered. They were often seen as symbols of strength and danger, and any attack by a bear was taken as a serious threat that needed to be addressed through legal means. So, next time you see a bear in the wild, remember that these majestic creatures once faced the peculiar wrath of medieval justice, standing trial just like humans. Our journey through the annals of animal trials continues with one of the most peculiar and fascinating cases, the monkey trials. Yes, even our primate cousins found themselves facing the long arm of the law. In the early 19th century, the coastal town of Hartlepool, England, was gripped by fear and suspicion during the Napoleonic Wars. According to local legend, a monkey was found washed ashore from a French shipwreck, and it was apparently dressed in a miniature military-style uniform. The townspeople, having never seen a Frenchman or a monkey before, mistook the poor creature for a French spy. The monkey was promptly arrested and put on trial for espionage. Despite its inability to speak or understand the proceedings, the monkey was found guilty and was sentenced to death by hanging and publicly executed. This tragic yet absurd event has become a famous tale in Hartlepool, symbolizing the paranoia and fear of the times. The Napoleonic Wars were a period of intense fear and suspicion, and the sight of an unfamiliar creature led to an overreaction that seems almost unbelievable today. So, next time you hear someone mention the Hartlepool monkey, remember this bizarre piece of history, a testament to how fear can lead to the most unexpected and tragic consequences. And that wraps up part 1 of our journey through the bizarre and fascinating world of animal trials. From pigs to monkeys, we've seen how medieval and early modern societies brought their unique sense of justice to the animal kingdom. But this is just the beginning. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive even deeper into more incredible stories of animals on trial. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more intriguing tales from history. See you next time.